And we're back. And we're back. Yes, we're back. We're back. We're back. Come on board. Talk to me. Where you guys at? Where are you at today? That's my question. What are you doing today? What's on your mind today? Join us, join us, join us. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're here. We're going to get this party started today. We got some good stuff to talk about. We're digging deeper. It's Wednesday. Dig deeper. Right? Remember, it's all about the choice is yours to dig deeper. Hashtag that out. Dig deeper. Hashtag the choice is yours. Right? That's what the show's about today. It's about digging deeper into you. It's about changing your mindset. It's about thinking about the things that you're not normally thinking about. It's how do we gain control over our own life, our own actions, our own well-being, and our own aware state. Love that word. Living in an aware state. If you think about it, that's what the entire series is on this Dig Deeper book series. So I'm excited about today. It's about always seeking to understand before being understood. And I've got some great points to talk about today. So anyways, if you're with me, say hi, tell me hi, say hello, tell me you like me, tell me you don't like me. I don't care. Just say something so I know you're out there. I know you're out there in Facebook land, wherever it is you are. Come on, type in. We're going to get this party started. I just want to make sure you guys are with me. You can hear me. You can see me. You're in the present state. You're actively going to participate today. So let's see. Who do we got? Who do we got? Well, you ain't got no. What you guys do? Whoa! I just saw a whole bunch of them come across. Look at that. That's awesome. All right, come on board, guys. We're digging deep today. We're going to jump back into our series. Let me know if you're with me. Say hi. Tell me where you're from. If you're brand new and you've never been on our show before, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to hear from you. We have a lot of people that follow us and come back show after show after show. But I'd like to know if you're new. And if this is your first time here, I'd love to introduce myself to you and really get to know you. So Carly says, hey, Coach. Hey, hey, hey. Robin says, good afternoon, Zach and team. That's right. We are a team around here. That's why we're the success team. Scott says, just got off my coaching call. Ready to learn more. Love it, Scott. Love it. Love that you're going from one coaching call to another coaching environment, right? That's digging deep into your future. That's digging deep into your experience. That's digging deep into living in an active, participating process of your life. So I commend you on that. Phyllis says, hey, Zach, keep up the good show. Love it, Phyllis. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, well, listen, if you're just joining us and it's your first time, say hi. Love to meet you. Love to see who you are. I promise you I won't bite you today. I know I bit a little hard yesterday. But, sometimes you got to do that, right? Good coaches out there in my life have always been the ones that cared a lot about me, but they also had no problem telling me when I was doing things wrong. So that was something I always appreciated about them. So Scott says, yes, absolutely. Colin says, welcome to the family, Scott. I've heard great things about you. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hey, listen, just so you're aware, my name is Zack Childress. I am your real estate coach because I am a real estate investor. So welcome to your Wednesday Dig Deeper show. We do it every Wednesday, 1:30 Eastern Time Zone. Why? To help support you in your journey to doing real estate or in business general, or just you developing yourself into an aware state to be able to embrace the journey of entrepreneurship. And so I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being on. I'm all about being active, so your participation is always welcomed on this live show, and I commend you for being on the live show. So that's something that I do very much. And I hope Facebook doesn't kick us off today. Because we're buffering. I don't know if you guys can hear me or see me right now, but we're buffering. Oh my goodness. How's it looking in there, Justin? Are we live? Oh, great. On my end, we're stuck. So that's great. So listen, you guys, if you haven't been with me, we are going through our Dig Deeper show, and we've been digging deep into the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. It's a fabulous book. If you've been with us at all, paying attention what we're doing, then you have been working on one of these habits every week as we've moved forward, okay? And I think that that's very, very important that you consume each habit each week because, you know, even with my children in the Leader in Me program written by Stephen Covey for the elementary schools, they do it every week. They have them work on a habit every week. And so we've come a long way. We've moved all the way through into habit 5. And the beauty of habit 5 is it helps us understand that we are now in the public victories, right? We're in public victories. And so habits 1 through 3 were our private victories. And they were really about understanding who we are and how to work on ourselves and how to grow ourselves, right? Which then allows us to be more aware of the public victories. And the one we're talking about today is habit 5, seek to understand before being understood. And if you did not work on the 3 personal or the private victories, the public victories become difficult. And here's why, and I'm going to talk about in this book too, is that you're allowing yourself to be open and vulnerable, to really put yourself in the other person's situation, mindset, about understanding them, not just listening, but really understanding them. And when you do that, you become very vulnerable and you become very open. And if you're not in complete control of your private victories, you could be persuaded or you could be sucked in to that type of situation. And so it's very important that you understand private victories. And so, Maisha says, good morning, Zach. Susan says hi. Tell Susan we say hi too. So yeah, if you're coming on board, say hi. I'm absolutely open to answering any questions that you have as we go through our book today, which is Habit 5. So that is something that we should look at. So if you guys don't have any questions for me today, then I'm going to dig right into our habit 5. We're going to jump right in and we're going to open your mindsets up about the different ways that we think we're listening to people, but we're not, right? We're not really listening. We're going to talk about that. So any questions coming through? All right, then. Okay. All right. Looks good then. So here's what he starts out with. So habit 5 is just that. Seek to understand before being understood. It's the principles of empathetic communication, okay? And there's a big difference between being empathetic and being sympathetic. And we're going to talk about that because sometimes people feel like, you know, that you should be more sympathetic. And I'm here to tell you that, you know, giving someone sympathy or being sympathetic is not always the approach you should take when trying to seek to understand someone. You know, it's not necessary. And a lot of people, you know, just say things randomly and it's off the wall and it's just there's no organization to their thinking process and they're looking for some type of assurance or some type of pat on the back or some type of sympathy because maybe in their life they've been able to be a victim to the people around them and say, oh, woe me, well, you know, this is happening to me and so did this to me and blah, 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 blah. And they've always had somebody say, no, it's okay, it's not your fault. Well, that is not, you know, living in an empathetic listening or communication process. And I just want to be very clear on that, okay? And there's a big difference in it. So let me open this up. All right, so here we go. So what I want you to pay attention to is there's the character of communication, okay? And we all need to understand the different levels of communication. So in communication, there's really 4 forms of communication, if you think about it. There's reading communication, there's writing communication, there's speaking, and there's listening. And a lot of people don't think about listening as a communication skill. They think about reading, writing, and talking as communication, but it's not. Communication is absolutely the most important skill in your life. If you've ever been around me in anything that I do or talk about or teach, I always say, the art of communication is by far one of the it's one of the biggest skill sets you have to create in business and life to be able to take you where you want to go. He says here that communication is the most important skill in life. But what about listening? He says, what training or education have you had that enables you to listen so that you really deeply understand another human being from that individual's own frame of reference? And if you think about it, there really isn't. There's not a class that we go to and it says, okay, this is listening 101. Let's talk about how to listen. You know, we tell our children, hey, listen, 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 listen. I say it all the time. Listen, listen. You know, but you know, it's different, right? It's listening comes in so many different aspects of how we listen, what type of listening we're going to do, and he breaks some of that down in here. He says here, and I'm talking about he as in Stephen Covey in the Habit 5 that we're covering today. So he says, if you want to interact effectively with me, he's referring to himself, to influence me, your spouse, your child, your neighbor, your boss, your coworker, your friend, you first need to understand me, right? And so many times in life, and I say this so much, maybe not in this way, but I always say, look, when you start a conversation, you roughly have 3 to 6 minutes to understand that person, how they talk, how they communicate, so that you can communicate to them in the way or the manner that they can hear you. Because see, we have a tendency in life to talk to people the way we hear things or the way we want to be talked to. And that's not how it works. People don't hear or receive information the same way you or I receive it. We all receive information differently. And so what he's expressing here is he says, if you want to interact and effectively communicate with me, then you have to understand me. And that comes from listening. And it's really calm. There's different types of listening that we'll talk about. But he says, you may say you care about and appreciate me. I desperately want to believe that. But how can you appreciate me when you don't even understand me? Now let's talk about that. Because remember, we're leading into how we, in Habit 5, we're leading into how do we understand someone before being understood. And how many times in your life have you had someone say to you, oh, I appreciate you, you know, or I care about you, but then their actions show something different, right? It's because it's just words. It's just words. It's not the implementation of it, right? And, you know, I feel like I'm pretty blessed, and I live in an aware state most of the time, and I'm very intuitive about people's desires, intent in most cases, and I spend a lot of time seeking to understand someone. And the reason I do that is not so much because I want them to understand me, because I'm really truly trying to understand them and either understand why they're trying to communicate with me, what the intent is behind the communication with me, what's the overall goal behind the communication with me, and what is their objective with the communication with me. I'm trying to identify all of that by listening in an aware state, to really be cognate enough to not just hear the words coming at me and me trying to figure out a solution to their problem, but really think much deeper than that and say, look, one side of me is trying to figure out a solution or an answer to their communication, but the other side of me is really trying to understand, what's the whole purpose behind this, right? Like, why are you coming to me today? Or what is your intent today? Or what is your desire from this conversation? And sometimes being in that state of understanding, you're not just understanding them in their current situation, but you're understanding their overall goal with that relationship they're trying to build with you, whether it be business, personal, family, whatever. And you're able to start to live more in the future state instead of the present state. And that's definitely some high level thinking process, but the more you practice it, the better you'll be at being able to resolve that seeking to understand, as he says here. He says, I love it, I desperately want to believe that, but how can you appreciate me when you don't even understand me, right? You don't even understand me. So now he moves into empathetic listening. This is very important for you guys. Empathetic listening, seek first to understand, involves a very deep shift in the paradigm. We typically seek first to be understood. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They don't listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. They're either speaking or preparing to speak. Now, how many of you have been in a seminar or a networking event and you're talking to somebody and you can absolutely tell they're just waiting on you to shut up so they can start talking, right? That is somebody that has no intent to absolutely understand you, right? They have no intent. Their only intent is to bypass time so that you will stop talking so that they can then impose their thought, thinking, story, proposal onto you before they have to run on to the next person and do the same thing to them. That person's intent or purpose is not to understand you. And if they would stop to understand you, they might find a better synergy to work with you or work out the situation. And listen, it drives people crazy because they're so accustomed to being cut off or talked over. And when you slow down and just listen, like they're like, are you really listening to me? Yeah, I am. Keep talking. And listen, I'm a guy that likes to talk. You guys know that. I enjoy talking. I think it's one of my skill sets. But at the same time, I also live in a state when there is a challenge that I need to be in an understanding point. Now, do I need to understand all challenges around me? No. I'm a business owner. I have management. I have people in place. I don't need to understand every single person's challenge in my organization. I need to understand the challenges that we need to talk about to go to the next level and how we take care of you, our students, and so forth. And that's where I really seek to understand. I seek to understand management. I may not always agree with management, but I won't just not listen to them. I will listen. I will be aware. I will take that data in, and then I will process that and see how. Because here's what some of you need to understand. Some people just want to talk to you, and they don't even want an answer. They just want to get it off their chest. They just want to get their idea out there. They just want to put it in front of somebody that might listen. They don't even need a response. So sometimes you waste time trying to respond to everything. And I know that I fall into that category a lot because I feel like anytime someone says something, I can either help them, right? I'm a fixer. That's what I am. I'm a fixer. But it's something that I work on, not to respond to everything. And so it has gotten me in trouble sometimes in my life, but we won't talk about that today. But you have to understand that if you want someone to understand you, you can't be a complainer. You can't be a moaner and a griper and oh, woe me and everybody's against me. You can't be that person because no one's going to want to understand you. To seek to understand before being understood is when you become at a professional level of communication. It's when you say, look, these are things that I need this person to understand me, but yet if both parties are seeking to understand each other, then they're they're only talking about the things that are necessary. They're only talking about the objective that needs to be resolved and how do we do that with a collaboration. Not coming at the other person with, oh, well, I can't become successful because I grew up in a mobile home and I lived in a trailer park and I had a very abusive childhood and I dropped out of school and, I lived on food stamps and I lived in a car and, I had 46 jobs before I was the age of 30 something, and that's my life. But if I just started telling somebody that, how are they going to want to listen to me, right? So I became a master at networking. And the reason I became a master at networking was because of my communication skills. And it was, I never told anybody that was anything that was irrelevant to what I was trying to get that relationship built on, right? If I was trying to establish a relationship with a businessman and I was trying to get that businessman to loan me $1 million, I never told him one thing that was not relevant to the purpose of what my proposal was going to be. It was, I always wanted to understand them. And then when I would see them trying to understand me, what I realized is that we were on the same wavelength, right? If I was saying, well, what is it that you're looking for when it comes to investors as a private investor? What is it that makes you comfortable? What is it that, the things that you would need in place before you execute as a private investor on an investor's deal? I'm seeking to understand, what made you get into being a private investor? And if they turned around to me and said, well, why is it that you want to be in real estate? And, how long have you been doing it? I now know that both parties are doing what? They're seeking to understand. And so now I know, man, I'm in a congruent process with this person. But if I've got a private investor that, I'm not trying to understand them and I'm just saying, look, I've got this deal and I got that deal and I've had hard times and I've come from this and, people have done this to me and people have done that to me and blah, 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 which is what they hear, which is what everybody hears. They're like shutting me down, man. They're shutting me down. So you got to think about that in life. Look, do we all have sorrows? Of course we do. Do things happen to me daily that I could sit up here and complain about? Yeah. Do I have deals that go south because people took advantage of a kindness of me? Yeah. Do I dwell on it? No. I get up and I move forward and I make more. I don't sit around and wait on that. Listen, I could sit here and tell you every reason in the world why I shouldn't be sitting in here doing real estate and doing this with you. But that don't get me nowhere. You understand? Living in the past won't get me to the future. And this is why I'm like, this 7 habits is literally like a core foundation if you want to become successful in life. If you want to become successful. But the number one thing you have to do is you got to cut out all the drama and the negativity and the woe me's and all that. You got to cut it out. Look, life is hard, okay? Are people going to take advantage of you? Yes. Are people going to try to bully you out of things? Yes. It's life. It's called the world we live in. And if you're going to let that control you, then the problem is you live in a bubble. And you got to break that bubble and get out into reality and grow some thick skin and be part of what goes on. That's how it works, okay? Life isn't fair. And if you think it's fair, then you were babied too much growing up. Life's not fair. But what makes life fair is your ability to move past those unfair situations. What makes life fair is your ability to be a high-level producer. What makes life fair is your ability to shut up and do the work and then turn around and show people results without having to talk about it. That's what makes life fair. Not you saying, oh, so-and-so did this to me, right? That's not how it works. So Stephen Covey says this, when I say empathetic listening, I mean listening with intent to understand. I mean seeking first to understand. To really understand, it's an entirely different paradigm shift. Empathetic from empathy. Listening gets inside another person's frame of reference. That you need to hear. Listening puts you inside the other person's frame of reference. And now I'm going to tell you this. This is why you have to understand private victories. Because when you start to move inside somebody else's paradigm or somebody else's, frame of reference, and you're not controlling your own internal, man, you could get sucked into somebody's life. And look, some people are really screwed up upstairs, okay? They have no clue or concept of how to organize their life, their skills, their ability to see the future, their ability to get up and go after it every day. They lack all of that. And so their brain, their thinking process is scattered. It's clustered. They can't identify the future. They're too busy looking at what's going on right now. They can't live in the future. They can't live in the 7 habits of highly effective people. So if you're joining us and wondering what the heck I'm talking about, we're breaking down the habit 5 and the 7 highly effective habits of highly effective people. I said that name all wrong, but you get the point. So it's a dangerous ground to walk on when you try to put yourself in an empathetic listening process and to seek to understand someone and to move yourself in the frame of reference that they live in. Because let me tell you something, people are screwed up out there, okay? They think outside of how normal people should think. It's most people in the world out there live in an era that they think that everybody owes them something. They're entitled to something and that people are out to get them. That's how they think, okay? And that they need medication for that is what they need, honestly, okay? But they don't take that medication. So what happens is they then meet you and you're a person of high professional integrity and you are living your life of balance and the 7 habits and you're really trying to understand that person. And if you're not in control of your private victories, habit 1 through 3, then what happens is you could get caught up into their belief system. And that's dangerous, okay? Listen, I literally will run from people like that. I don't mind getting to know people, but when I start seeing that side of people coming out, I'm out, man. I'm out. I am gone like the wind, and you're going to see, run, Forrest, run from me, because I refuse to let that into my life. So he goes on to say this. You look out through it. You look out through it. You see the world the way they see the world. You understand their paradigm. You understand how they feel. This is why it's dangerous if you're not in control of your own state. Because when you start to seek things through how they see the world and how they look at their life and how they see the issues that they're dealing with, what happens is you put yourself into their state. Right? So that's like you being in a great state, you living in a huge aware state and being in abundance and everything's going to be okay. Okay, so-and-so did this to me, but I ain't worrying about it. I'm not even going to hang out with them anymore. And you live in this very clear, crystal aware state. And then you start to understand somebody that doesn't live in that state because you have to be vulnerable to do that. You could start to see things from their view and not be able to pull yourself out of it. So this is why it's important that you master habits 1 through 3 before you move into public victories. He goes on to say, communication experts, now this is important, listen to this. Communication experts estimate, in fact, that only 10% of our communication is represented by the words we say, meaning that what you hear me today, you're only receiving 10% of what I'm telling you, okay? It goes on to say another 30% is represented by our sounds, which means our reflection, how we say things up and down, and 60% of our body language, how we position ourselves with people, how we cower down when we talk or we look away or we shrug our shoulders. We don't stand up with pride and be confident in who we are and what we're here to be and what we're going after. 60% of how you think of yourself is exposed through your body language is what other people receive, okay? In empathetic listening, you're listening with your ears, but also, and more importantly, listening with your eyes and with your heart to really understand that person, right? Empathetic listening is also, this is what I've been talking about that he covers right here. So listen to this. Empathetic listening is also risky. Listen, listen, listen. It's also very risky. It takes a great deal of security to go into a deep listening experience because you open yourself up to be influenced. Okay? You become vulnerable. It's a paradox in a sense because in order to have influence, you have to be influenced. That means you have to really understand. That's why habits 1, 2, and 3 are so foundational. They give you the challenges or the changeless inner core, meaning if you remember habits 1 through 3, it was about building our inner core and not being shaken from that foundation. The principal center in which we live by, from which you can handle the more outward vulnerability with peace and strength. Right? Look, there's been times that I've been at one of our trainings, our seminars, and someone comes up to me and I know they need help. I know they need a change of thinking process, and they're just beating me to death with the negativity in their life and all the woes and the oh me's and ugh. And I can feel me go from being happy to help to really becoming in an understanding state of them. And it just starts to drain me. And I have to shake out of it. And I have to say, whoa, like, I got to step out of you. Like, you're really screwed up, man. And you need some serious help. So, that's part of it you got to be aware of. Let's see what we got coming in here. Let's see here. Bruce, Big Bruce. Man, I loved meeting that guy. That's a powerhouse right there. Zach's absolutely amazing. Follow him and grow. That's cool, man. Thanks, Bruce. I was really impressed with meeting you, man. Citywide Home says, hey, Zach and team. Hello, Jeremy. It was great pleasure yesterday to talk to you. Absolutely, you guys, what does he say here? You guys are a great team. You are a great listener. Thanks. And that's Rudy, by the way. Carly says, body language says more than anything. Oh, it's so true, right? It really does. And it's crazy because we learn it, as children first, and we don't even realize we're doing it because the kids will do something. I'll be like, hey, who left this in here? What? They start to look, wasn't me. Like, body language is everything. You read body language, you can really understand where a person, where their state is, right? I'll tell you this, there's nothing more intriguing, sexy, motivational, inspiring to me than a person who is humbly confident. I hope you understand what that means. A person who is humbly confident, right? Like, they're confident. Like, they stand behind all their decisions and their life and who they are and where they're going. They're extremely confident in that. But they're humble enough to know that they're not better than anybody, that they'll dig a ditch if they have to. They'll do whatever they need to survive. That to me is like the most rewarding type people to meet in my life is somebody that has achieved this much success, but they realize that they're still a human being and there's only one person greater than them, and that's our Father in heaven, right? They live in such an aware state of who they really are, right? They just achieved a lot of things in their life. And so, without that confidence, they would have never gotten there. And, I tell people all the time when I'm talking to them, they're looking away, I'll say, look at me, like build confidence. Look at me. Because I don't think I'm an intimidating person, but I have been told that I'm intimidating, not that I try to be intimidating at all. That's not my intent to be intimidating. But, some people perceive that, and that's not at all of a place where I come from. But I think that we are intimidated by other people when we dislocate ourselves as all equal human beings. You follow me? Like, we need to realize that we're all children of the Father in heaven, and we're all equal. And at the end of the day, we're all going one or two places, and it's about our choices we make on earth today. But sometimes we tend, as humans, to dislocate ourselves because of someone's financial success, not their life success, but their financial success. So we feel like, oh, they're up there, oh, I'm lesser than. And that's farthest from true. Hey, look, I don't care how much money you have at all. Honestly, some of the greatest people I know and some of the people I trust more than anything barely make it. They barely survive, right? But they're some of the most trustworthy people I've ever met. And on the other side, I know some of the wealthiest people in the world. One of my mentors here locally in town, he's high-level commercial and land development, and I'm blessed to have him as a mentor. This guy has got more money than, he needs. But I can meet that guy anywhere, and he's in blue jeans and a t-shirt, and he just talks to me like a regular human being. Those are the types of people I want to be around. Those are the types of people I want to associate with. Those are the types of people that we need to be thinking about. They understand, right? They understand. And so think about that. Let's see here. Ronald says, eye contact, give more. Yes. Michelle says, even counselors that are supposed to listen to people would benefit from this book. Right? That's so true. Ariana says, that's true. Love it, guys. Love your comments. Love it, love it, love it. So, all right. So then Stephen Covey moves into another part. It's called diagnose before you prescribe, right? Diagnose before you subscribe, or prescribe, not subscribe, prescribe. And let me also talk about this real quick. If you've been following me at all or ever read this book, this goes all the way back to habit 1, which is about being proactive. Being proactive is really about getting you to understand that, most people in life, they get stimulated and they react, right? Stimulation, react. And, being proactive, the biggest message that I take out of Habit 1's chapter is moving yourself into that aware state. Being stimulated, moving into an aware state. How do I handle this? What's the best approach? What should I do first? What should I do second? And then react, right? It's having the ability to put your emotions in check. And that is what a lot of people have a hard time doing. They're emotionally driven. They react. They just jump out or they lash out because their emotions are offended or they're upset. So they don't know how to control their emotions. And so they live in stimulation, react, stimulation, react. That honestly is the worst type of person to hang out with because what they're going to do is they're going to agitate you to start reacting in that way. And so you got to be real careful. Well, that's part of what he talks about here. Diagnose before you prescribe. He says, although it's risky and hard, seek first to understand or diagnose before you prescribe is a correct principle manifest in many areas of life. It's the mark of all true professionals. Let you absorb that for a minute, right? It's the mark of all true professionals. True professionals understand how to control emotion. They understand that an emotional reaction is not a logical or a logistical reaction. It's emotional. It's biased. It's stimulation is what it is. A true professional understands very clearly that when something comes at them and their emotions get riled up, the last thing they need to do is to respond. It's the last thing. It is the last thing they have to do. The first thing they have to do is they have to start to move themselves back into an aware state, process the information, really review their emotional outburst that might be coming, and dissolve that so that they can think clearly about the reaction or the statements that need to be made. So, love that part. True professional, right? All right, he goes on to understanding and perception. Ooh, man, perception. What a strong word. I think that perception is the lost word in our society. That is my personal belief, because I believe that we live in a society where everybody thinks their view on everything is the only view, right? We can't respect somebody else's view because it's not my view. Oh, if you don't think the way I do, then you're whatever. I mean, think about during the election. Oh my word, like all the hatred that came out, right? Just because somebody sided with Trump versus Hillary, well, then they were everything that the other one wasn't, right? It was, oh, you're this, you're that, you're all these hurtful names and these hurtful things because you don't think the same way I think, so you've got to be this, right? I just think that's sad that we live in a society where the perception is lost. We've lost the identity or the understanding of that everybody has different views. And if I can't appreciate you and your perception of things, how will you ever appreciate me and my perception of things? That's like if me and you were standing together and I drew a 6 on the floor, on your side it would look like a 9. On my side it would look like a 6. On your side it would look like a 9. That's perception, right? And he talks about it in here. So he says in here, as you learn to listen deeply to other people, you will discover tremendous difference in perception. What you'll understand is that everybody has different views on things, right? You will also begin to appreciate the impact that these differences can have as people try to work together in interdependent situations. Interdependent situations, right? That's what I want you to understand. See, when I love people, okay? I love people. I love people watching. I love everything about people. I think people are the most creative, magical experience ever, right? I'm so into people in general. And here's what I mean. Not just highly financially successful people, but just people. Because I'm into this. I'm really into understanding how people think about things. And why do they think about it that way? And what's their perception on this? And why is their perception on that way? I really want to know why people think the way they think. Okay? He goes on to say, you see the young women. I see the old lady. And both of us can be right. Perception. He says, you may be scripted in the abundance mentality. I may be scripted in the scarcity mentality. It's perception, right? Our perception can be vastly different, and yet we both have lived with our paradigms for years, thinking they are facts and questioning the character or mental competence of anyone who can't see the facts the way you do, right? The way you do. So how do we do it? How do we transcend the limits of our individual perception so that we can, as he says here, deeply communicate so that we can cooperatively deal with the issues and come up with win-win situations? We talked about this last week, about win-wins. You can't have a win-win if you can't understand the other person. The answer is habit 5. It's the first step to the process of win-win. Even if the other person is not coming from that paradigm, seek first to understand. Guys, I mean, it's magical. It's magical when you think about it. When you think about that we can live in a state to really understand other people, even we may not agree with it, but we can literally live in a state to understand why they think that way. How much stronger do you think that makes you in the next conversation you go into with someone like that? You know, because now you're not just shutting them down, which then there's never a resolution. There's never a resolution. He says, then seek to be understood. So you have to understand and then seek to be understood. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Knowing how to understand is the other half of habit 5 and is equally critical in reaching a win-win situation. Seeking to understand requires consideration. Seeking to be understood takes courage. Right. That you need to write down somewhere. Seeking to understand requires consideration of the other person. Seeking to be understood takes courage. Courage, right? Win-win requires a high degree of both. He says when you can present your own ideas clearly. Oh man, like how much truth is that? You know how many ideas come to me and they are not clear at all. Like they are all over the place. And I'm like, can you slow down? Just slow down, get your thoughts together, and then articulate it in a manner that I can follow you, right? And I understand because when I get excited, whew, man, I just want to get it out. So I understand. But he says your own ideas clearly, specifically, visually, and most important, contextually. Okay? In the context of a deep understanding of other people's paradigms and concerns, you significantly increase the credibility of your idea. That, if you don't get anything out of, I hope you got that. If you want your ideas or your thoughts or your communication to be held with credibility, the first way you do that is you seek to understand the other person. So then they see you at a different level. They see you at a higher light. They see you as someone who actually wants to understand and help in whatever it is the journey may be. Habit 5 lifts you to greater accuracy, greater integrity in your presentation. And people know that. They know you're presenting the idea that you genuinely believe, taking all known facts and perceptions into consideration, which will benefit everyone. Guys, that is habit 5. And I can talk on that so much. I mean, I deal all the time with my coaching students. My very first call with a coaching student is let's talk about you, right? Let's talk about you. You know, what's your situation? What's your goals? What drives you? What are we working with? You know, what kind of training have you had? I really want to understand them. And that's the only way that I can actually be a good coach. That's the only way that I can get them to the next level. That's the only way I can lay a plan out for them is by seeking to understand them. And I think over the years that I've been coaching, it's helped me really perfect habit 5 because every student I work with, my first goal is seek to understand them. Then I will get them to understand me because then when I start laying out the steps they got to go through to build their investment business or to get to retirement or to go on a vacation or to quit their job, they're going to listen because now they know I just didn't come in and be like, all right, here's what you need to do, right? They know, oh man, like he really wants to know what I'm doing. He really wants to know where I'm at because I want to put myself in their situation, right? I want to see it through their eyes, their life, their circumstances. I want to see it personally. So that's what you got to think about, guys, is how do you live daily in habit 5? Now, we're in week 5 of this book, right? We've covered so many of these habits, and I'm going to say it again. Habit 5 is always going to be your most vulnerable habit because you're putting yourself in a position to truly try to understand someone. And to do that, you have to be vulnerable. And the way you stay strong in that vulnerability is you make sure you practice habits 1 through 3 in your private victories. You make sure you stay strong to your core beliefs. You stay strong to your aware state, right? You got to stay strong in those aspects. You know, and then habit 2, beginning with the end in mind. That's really your cultivation. That's your core mantra. That's your life being. That's your purpose. What is it that I want to achieve in my life? And how do I stay strong to that? Who do I want to be? What type of father do I want to be? What type of son do I want to be? What type of friend? What type of leader? What type of me do I want to be? Being in an aware state allows me to really be visual and clear on who I want to be. Habit 3 is putting first things first. What do I need to make sure I'm working on daily to live habit 2 out? When you compass those 3 habits, your private victories, then you're able to move into the public victories. Seek win-win. Seek to understand, but understand is your most vulnerable spot. And it will be hard for you to stay out of other people's reflection of life if you're not crystal clear on your reflection of life, right? Who you want to be. That's what you need to think about. So we got habit 6 next, and then we got sharpen the saw. Habit 6 is all about synergize, making it happen, making it synergize together so that you're living in not a frantic state all the time, right? I know a lot of people that live that way. So, but if you got any questions right now, let me have them. If not, I want you practicing habit 5 this week. I want you working on habit 5. I want you really thinking about what is it that you could do different this week to really seek to understand somebody else's purpose or journey or situation, right? I challenge you to do that. I really do. But also know this. If you're the type of person that's influenced very easily, habit 5 is going to be a really hard habit for you. So you got to find your core. You got to really go back and go through habits 1 through 3 and really stabilize yourself so that you can move into that habit 5 situation. So, hey, for those of you that are still on with me, I know some of you were messaging us yesterday about the event. So the event is Tampa, June 8th, 9th, and 10th. Just so you're aware of that. It's in Tampa, Florida. You need to call the office if you want to get some tickets reserved for that. I highly suggest you pick up the phone and call the office, 707-247-4248, and let me help you take it to the next level at this next event. It's in Tampa, Florida. We will sell out again. We sell out every single time because that's just how our events are. We keep them, around that 120 student mark, somewhere in there. We don't like it to get much bigger than that. But, I encourage you to get your tickets, get them reserved, get your situation right so that you can come grow your business. That's in June. You got lots of time. We're in February, so you got March and April to get your travel taken care of, your hotel taken care of, but get your tickets reserved now. So I encourage you to do that. Anything coming in from anybody? Let me see. Got all those, and consider a bunch of highs and lows. Awesome. Oh, Mr. Kevin Pelt is on the Facebook Live today. That's awesome. Oh, Kevin. We always wonder where you're at in this world. So that's great. I'm glad you're still enjoying the message, Kevin. It's powerful, right? It's powerful. Keep coming with it, man. I know you miss us. I know you miss us, man. I know you miss us. So I know you miss us, man. You know you do. You're out there trying to figure out why you're not still with us. I know what's going on, Kevin. I know. I got you, man. I got your card, man. So, anyways, guys, I've enjoyed it with you today. Habit 5, right? We got 2 more habits to go, and then we're going to open up a new series, and it's going to be all about getting your credit straightened out. We're going to dig deeper into your credit. We're going to dig into your credit. We're going to help you. We're going to give you some strategies. We're going to also introduce some of the things that I've done and some of the people in the office have done to get ours at much higher levels. And I've got an expert. I'm digging deeper into an expert. We have a little 2 or 3 part series with her. You guys are definitely going to enjoy that. So make sure you keep coming with us. So Don, you're welcome, my friend. You're welcome. So I like the fact that the heart and thumbs up show on the screen. I like it too, actually. It lets me see the engagement, right? If not, I'm just sitting here talking to a camera. So, anyways, you guys go out and make it a blessed week. Make it a great weekend. Enjoy your time. Enjoy your experiences. Keep focused on your growth. Think big, dream big, and be back here next week. We are going to go back into our real estate show on Tuesday at 1:30, and then we'll go back into our Dig Deeper show on Wednesday at 1:30. So, Kevin says, miss you guys too. Look at there! I knew you did, man. I knew you did. I knew you did. I knew you did, man. You know, you need to come by and say hi to us, man. You need to come on by and say hi to us, Kevin. Don't be a stranger now. Don't be a stranger. So, all right, guys, listen, Zack Childress here. I am your real estate coach because I am a real estate investor, and I will see you guys next week. Stay strong, stay proud, be you.